Hello, good morning to Dr. Ahmad Faiz bin Abdul Rashid. So our group will be presenting about Coursework 3, which is life cycle costing. Hello, my name is Randy William ALEXIUS. I will explaining about what is life cycle costing. Life cycle costing, or known as LCC, is a method used to evaluate the total cost of an asset or project throughout its entire life cycle. Instead of focusing only the initial purchase or construction costs, LCC consider all costs from planning and design to operation, maintenance, repair replacement, and final disposal. This approach helps decision makers understand the long-term financial impact of an investment. So, why life cycle costing is important? Because first is it support better decision making, where it help to compare different design alternative, materials or equipment based on their total lifetime cost. This helps them to choose the option that offer the best in long-term value. Second is reduce long-term cost, which is by considering future operation, maintenance, repair, and replacement costs. LCC helps identify solutions that minimize overall expenditure throughout the asset's life. Lastly is it improve budget planning. First, LCC provide a clear estimate of future costs and also help to enabling organization to prepare realistic maintenance and replacement budget while reducing the unexpected financial burdens. So our group have choose a passing question February 2026, where as you can see here, Eco Homes Development Sudan Hut is developing a medium cost apartment complex in Section 7, Shalom. As a part of the external work, the developer intends to upgrade a 500 meter square open communal area between the apartment blocks to serve as both, which is a pedestrian walkway and an emergency access. So the client is considering about two alternatives for this open space. First, which is option A, for concrete paving finish, for section B, which is topsoil with grass finish. So the client expect to facility to last in about 35 years before major development, and has a request an economic appraisal using an interest rate of 9% per annum. Inflation and taxation are to be ignored. So advise the client. So I will explain about the calculation for option A, which is initial cost. So before we do the initial cost, we need to find the important keywords in the question. Like I have highlight, the keyword is the developer intends to upgrade the 500 meter square. So to calculate the initial cost, take the initial cost directly, then times with proposed JFA. So this means we need to total up all the initial costs, which is I get, which is uh, the total I get is RM 43 ringgit. So times with JFA, proposed JFA 500. So the total, the initial cost times with JFA is 21,500. The reason why I take the cost directly from initial cost, because the table already stated meter square. So when it stated meter square, we need to take it directly, since the question state the proposed area is 500 meters square. So it the same format. So uh, the we need to times with area because we need to know the cost of per JFA for each element.
Option A for the annual maintenance, which is 5% of the initial cost. So how to calculate the annual maintenance cost is 5% of the initial cost times with 21,500. You will get 1,075 times with years purchase, which we take from the table is we look at least 10.5668 times it, and you will get 11,359.31 cents. For the paving and topsoil, we will look at the present value of 1 pound table, and we will use for 15 and 30 under 9%. So for 15 you will get 0.2745, and then for 30 you will get 0.753, or then round off it 0.0754. Then total up the number, then times with 25,800, you will get 9,027.42 cents. For the electric, use again the 21,500, then use PV of 1 pound table, and then you look at 20 years under 9%, which is 0.1784. So 21,500 times with 5%, you will get 1075, then times with 0.1784, you will get 191 ringgit.78. So the total cost for option A is 21,500 plus with 11,359.31 plus 9,027.42, and lastly plus with 191.78. You will get a total of 42,080 ringgit and 51 cents.
Hello everyone, today I will be presenting the calculation for the initial cost of option B, which covers the topsoil with grass finish alternative for the Eco Homes development project. Based on the project brief, we are analyzing of a total open communal area of 500 meters square. To find the total initial cost for option B, we first need to calculate the total rate per square meter by summing up all 6 initial cost components provided in the data table. By adding all of these individual rates together, Rm 250 cent plus 4 ringgit plus 3 ringgit plus 4 ringgit plus 2 ringgit 50 cent and plus 2 ringgit, we get a combined initial rate of exactly 18 ringgit per square meter. Now, to find the final figure, we multiply this total rate by the overall size of the communal area. That means we take our 18 ringgit per square meter and multiply it by the 500 meter square area.
Assalamualaikum, a very good morning to Sefais. My name is Muhammad Khalid Yahya. So I will continue our presentation session with explaining about calculation for option B. So for the information is, the first information we get is annual maintenance 25% from initial cost. Second, paving topsoil with grass increase 50% of initial cost every 4 years. Third, jointing or mortar repair every 8 years, 5% of initial cost. The next one would be lighting fittings renewal every 10 years, 5% of initial cost. And the last one would be remunerative rate in A. Remunerative rate is 9%. For the key takeaway, the total long-term financial commitment for this asset over its 35-year lifespan at 9% discount rate is the total cost RM 57,460 cents, meaning future maintenance and annual cost effectively double the project's upfront initial expense. So, to calculate the annual maintenance, how we get the RM 9,000 is we need to take from the initial cost, and then we need to type with times with 0.25 because of 25% increase from initial cost. So after we times with 25%, we need to times with years purchase or PV of 1 per annum, because the annual maintenance means the maintenance is every year. So when it comes to every year, we need to times it with years purchase, which is PV of 1 per annum. So we open the valuation table and we look at the 35 years, and column 9% diminutive rate. And so we got 10.5668. So after that, we timesing with a new cost of annual maintenance after after times with the increased cost. So we got RM 23,775 and 30 cents. Next is calculation for jointing or mortar repair. For jointing or mortar repair, I use a red color to highlight that the amount that related with this cost. And then for the lighting of fitting renewals, I use a purple color to show that which amount of PVO that I use. So for the jointing or mortar repair, the cost is 5% from initial cost, so we get 450, and then we need to times it with PV of 1. The reason why we need to times it with PV of 1 because if the question or information have mentioned specific years, like every 8 years or every 10 years, we need to use PV of 1. So the years that involved with this mortality pay cost is 8 years, 16 years, 24 years, and 32 years. So the total amount of PV of 1 is 0.9436, and then we times it with 450, so we get 424.62 cents for mortality pay. For lighting and fitting renewal, the cost will be 5% from initial cost, so we get 450, and then we need to times PV of 1 for 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. And the total amount is the total amount of PV of 1 is 0.6762, and then we times it with 450, and we get 304.29 cents. After we finish calculate all the cost for option B, we need to total up. So the total cost for option B is RM 57,460 cents. So after we finish calculate for both option, we need to find the difference for these two options. So the formula is the most highest cost minus the lowest cost divide with the lowest cost and then times it with 100. So for the option B is the most highest. So the amount is 57,064 and 60 cents. So we managed with the option A, which is the lowest one, around 42,851 cents, and then we divided it with 42,800.51 cents, and then we times it with 100. So we get 35.61% for the difference for the option B and option A.
Based on our total cost calculations over the 35-year lifespan, option A is the better and more financial choice for the client. Even though it costs more to build at the beginning, it comes down to a classic choice between high initial cost versus between high maintenance cost. Option B, which is the grass finish, looks cheaper at first because its starting cost is only 9,000 ringgit Malaysia. Option A, the concrete paving, is more expensive upfront at 21,500 ringgit Malaysia. However, option B becomes incredibly expensive to keep up. It requires a massive 25% annual maintenance fee every single year, compared to only 5% for option A. On top of that, the grass and topsoil need an extra 15% budget boost every 4 years, and the lighting needs to be replaced twice as often as option A. Because grass requires constant mowing, watering, and frequent repairs, the long-term running costs completely wipe out the initial savings. Therefore, we highly recommend option A. The concrete paving provides a durable, low-maintenance surface that will save the client a significant amount of money over the next 35 years. That's all for me. Thank you.